Hi everyone, welcome to the Adventures with Raven and Rowley. I'm Raven and this is Rowley. We're slowly converting a cargo trailer into a tiny home. Right now we live in a 26-foot fifth wheel, full-time. Last time I talked about the current construction and showed a full tour of the current configuration of my 6x12 enclosed cargo trailer. This week I'll talk about what I've instituted for security, safety, and emergencies. If you're curious, please join us on this journey and continue to watch. You can't prepare for all emergencies, but you can prepare for some of it. I mean, doesn't matter where you live or where you're traveling or where you're going or if you're staying someplace. It doesn't matter. You can't prepare for all of them, but you can prepare for some of them. And if you're boondocking, if you're planning on going out and traveling and running the roads, plan ahead. Okay? Personally, I'm a destination-driven person. I gotta have some place to go. And then once I, decide where I'm going to go, then I can make all of the other arrangements about how long it's going to take me, what do I want to see on the way, all that kind of good stuff. But I got to have some place to go first. Okay. So the best thing to do then is to read the reviews about the place you're trying to get to. Okay. And if you can, find reviews about places to stop along the way. Always, always, always plan to arrive before dark. You need to walk the area. If you're boondocking, you got to find out about things like potholes or sand traps or gullies and ditches and that kind of good stuff, It's always best. If you're just going to be camping out, let's say in a Flying J for the night, arrive before dark. So you get there before, in a reasonable amount of time. You got some time to relax a little bit, open the windows, breathe, go in and maybe go to the restaurant or whatever, but some time to wind down before you have to travel again. So when you arrive, after you've scouted the area and everything, park facing the exit so that if you need to get out in a hurry, you can get out in a hurry and you know exactly what's in front of you. I'd say if you're sleeping in your car or you're sleeping in something that you can drive away, sleep with the keys nearby. If you're sleeping in something like I'm going to be sleeping in, which is a 6x12 cargo trailer, I need to keep the keys nearby. At the very least, you can't drive away. Obviously, you have to come out of the trailer, get into the car, that kind of good stuff. But you do have a panic button on the keys, or most new cars now have panic buttons. If you don't have a panic button on your key fob, if you have a key fob, you can always get one. Like my car is a 1999 Dodge Durango, does not have a panic button on the key fob. But, for $15 or a little bit more, a little bit less, you can get a panic button that fits on your keychain. Things that you should take with you. Not only should you plan ahead, but you should take paperwork. And you should keep it all in one place. A lot of people keep their registration in their glove compartment. It might be also a good place to keep a small folder, like a bank folder, a bank money folder with the zippers on them, that they used to have. I don't even know if they still do use those things in banks. I haven't been to the bank in so long. But anyhow, something about that size, keep your vet papers, keep your medical papers, your medical information, your doctor's number, the vet's number, any medical conditions you may have, whatever. Your car insurance and registration and that kind of stuff should be in there too, along with maybe an extra credit card or an extra debit card in case something happens. You should have more than one account, with numbers so that in case something happens to one, you have the other one available to use. Of course, there are medical emergencies, and you should be prepared for those too, you know. First of all, I think that one of the most important things is once you decided to settle someplace, know your GPS coordinates. Look them up, find them out, write them down, put them on a piece of paper, stick it on your windshield, whatever, inside, you know, not on your windshield, but someplace where you can see it and nobody else can see it, and you know what it is, you can get to it easily, that kind of thing. Know your GPS, because if you have to call 911, you can give the EMS your coordinates, exactly where to find you, okay? You should know also where the closest urgent care is or emergency room, and you should know what the local emergency telephone numbers are. Everybody thinks you should call 911, but the thing is that everybody's using cell phones, and the cell phones don't necessarily direct or give the coordinates of where the cell phone is, but where the cell phone is registered. So you might be in a whole other state, you know, or something of the sort. So the best thing to do would be to give your GPS coordinates to the emergency people. You should keep a first aid kit in the car, not only for yourself, but for your pet, okay? Or your kids, you know. You should keep some over-the-counter drugs too, like acetaminophen and cough medicine, you know, stuff like that. So I don't know what else. I'm not an EMS, I'm not a medical person, but these are the things I would keep in the house anyway. So if you're traveling away from home, it seems to me, and you expect to be out on your own, like in your own little house, wherever, then you should have those things with you also. And then there's the matter of not only a GPS for the EMSs, but just in case, so you don't get lost, you know where you're at. You need to know where you're at all times. I would suggest that you carry paper maps, and not only paper maps, you can get those at the visitor centers, but you should also carry a compass. A manual needle floating on the thingy, under glass compass, you know, and learn how to use it, you know, that kind of thing. Now, there are always apps you could use on your phone. You know, there's Google tracking, and then you can put Google pins to locate where you're at. And I think everyone should know how to do that, so that if you're out and about, for instance, and you're in the middle of the desert, you need to pin where your rig is at, so that if you drive away from it, you know how to get back to it. And that also works in shopping malls, you know, so you can find your car that way, you know. Of course, there are those things like Apple AirTags, you know, that you attach to your vehicle or whatever, and it leads you right back to it. Also, while you're running around out in the middle of nowhere, check your cell phone and Wi-Fi internet connectivity, okay? Make note of the last time, for instance, if you're driving, make note of the last time you saw that you had some kind of communication ability, you know, some bars on your phone. And find out how far, well, don't travel any further than you could actually walk back to that signal spot, you know, in a matter of an hour, let's say, or whatever time you feel you could do it. Don't go any further than you can walk out to that location, okay? And never, ever, ever, don't stay somewhere where you're not allowed, okay? Just don't. Why? Why would you? People do that stuff, but why? Doesn't make any sense. Right next to it or down the road or whatever is a place you are allowed. So, I don't know. I would say also, in the maps and location thing and not getting lost, just don't go too far off road. If you're new at this, and if you're new at this, just don't go too far off road. You know, stay where you could see the road, maybe, for instance, or whatever. There are a lot of places like off of 95 in Nevada, that are, you can see the road. It's not so close that you can hear the truckers going by, but you could see it and you could walk to it if you had to. And walking to that road allows you the opportunity to flag down people, to get a cell signal, that kind of thing, you know. And always, 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 always trust your gut feeling. Okay. I know that it's hard for men in particular to trust their gut feelings. Well, at least that's what I've been told, because I'm not a man, I don't know. But I think that men have just as many safety concerns as women. And although I seem to constantly be thinking about the women's caravan and hanging out with women and that kind of good stuff, I know that men have just as much problems in this society with all kinds of nasty things, just like women do. And they have equally as many concerns, although their concerns might be slightly different. The thing is that you need to trust your gut feeling. If you don't feel good, there's something kind of hinky going on, get out. Just get out. It's like the old ghost movies, get out. When the ghost says get out, get out. Don't sit around and say, well, maybe if we get an exorcist in here, whatever. Get out, okay? You don't need a reason to go. You don't have any reason to stay if you don't want to. I mean, just get out. That applies to men and women. Get out, okay? Create your own tribe would be a good idea. For instance, I always travel. I can't say that. I've camped out mostly with the HOWA, HOWA women's caravans. There are a lot of different groups out there that you could travel with or you could camp with. There are hobby groups, church groups, whatever. Just find your people, find your tribe, and you can, out of that, meet other people, learn to trust yourself, your instincts, other people, and there's a certain amount of safety in traveling with groups. You should also let your friends and family know where you are. If you set up some travel buddy, let's say, and you're supposed to check in, okay? Not checking in is like calling wolf. How many times are you going to not check in? And then when you don't check in and you really need somebody out there to do something about that, they'll say, oh, well, we'll talk to him tomorrow, that kind of thing. And you'll be up the creek. So if you set up something to check in, then check in. Make sure you do it, okay? You should also keep your valuables hidden or locked up overnight. Don't leave your stuff hanging out, because if you got to get up and go in a quick hurry and your stuff is sitting all over the floor, over the ground, the problem. You either leave it or take the time to be in danger and pick it up. I would also say keep mace or bear spray handy. Now, I know that it's not legal in some places, so you need to come up with some method of defense. And that's all it really is to say about that. And don't do like I did. Don't open your door at night, okay? I don't know what possessed me to do that. I realized how insane that was when I did it, and I did it automatically. Check yourself, okay? Try and keep yourself together, The point is you want to stay alive, you want to stay alive, you want to have a good time, you want to play, that kind of good stuff, Carry water. Carry at least one more day's water than you think you'll need. Probably 2-3 days would be good, because what if you break down in the middle of the desert and the satellite goes out and you got to sit there for 3 days? I would also say take some kind of water purifying appliance. Uh, you know, like for instance, they have water purifier straws, assuming that you are someplace where you can get water. And if you're not, you should know which plants around you, if there are plants around you, and it probably is in most cases. Which plants around you can you suck on whatever to supply you with moisture, with water, or how to get water by digging, a ditch or whatever, using your water bottle, whatever trick there is to getting water from wherever it is that you're at. Okay. And of course, well, I don't know if of course, but in this generation anyway, we need power. So, so if you're going to be out there and you want to continue to maintain communication with other people, you need some kind of power. I carry a Jackery's solar generator and what do you call it, solar cells, solar panels. Now they have handheld batteries you can carry, or even just regular extra batteries, double A's, triple A's, whatever. Carry those things and change them out every now and then, or make sure that they're charged up every now and then so that you have them when you need them. Now, I've been hanging out and camping in the desert, but I used to live in the Northeast, New Hampshire, upstate New York, all that kind of good stuff. It gets cold. So the thing I did learn while living in those conditions is that you need to layer your clothing, and in some instances you might be better off with 3 layers of sheets as opposed to a thin comforter. You know, the thing is you should layer your clothing so that the air is trapped in between each layer, and each successive layer gets warmer and warmer the closer it is to your body. Of course, and of course, if you get too hot, you can always take it off, but you can always put more on too, Uh, as far as heating goes, think about what are you going to do? Your plan A, plan B, C. There's propane. I carry propane. I don't carry butane, and I don't carry wood. But depends upon where you're camping, You should also make sure that you have, whether you're camping or not, some method of creating a fire. Now, I mean, there's no reason you couldn't carry matches, except that they're hard to come by these days, or lighters, which also seem to be getting more and more difficult to find. Except the long barbecue lighters, you can find those. I could find those anywhere, but the other small ones, not so much. I actually had to order them. It's crazy. Or you can carry things like flint and steel that a lot of hunters carry. So my latest camping experience, though, is in the desert. So most of my concern has been about keeping cool, except at night when I'm trying to keep warm. The desert is an amazing place. Anyway, absolutely need a hat. Preferably something with a wide brim that covers your neck and your shoulders and the front of you. You can get some shade. That can shade your eyes, because you can get sunburn on your eyes too, So it'd be good to wear sunglasses, all that good stuff. And put on some sunscreen, Maybe also wear some light breathable clothing that can cover all of your skin if necessary, because sunburn is painful, as you know. At any rate. And then there is suggestion number 8. Food. You should have in your car. Quick foods. Not junk foods. I like potato chips and all that kind of good stuff. I mean, you could have that. Yeah, why not? But something that's going to sustain you in an emergency if necessary. Freeze-dried foods where you only add water. Or dried fruits, dried nuts, jerky, things like that. That's going to give you good energy, good solid energy and, carry you for emergency. And you probably should keep those in the car. Now, when I used to live in New Hampshire, I kept those kind of things along with the blankets in the car at all times, because you never knew where you were going to get stuck with the snow, And then, of course, shelter. If something happens to your vehicle and you can't use it for shelter, you need to get some way to get out of the weather. I mean, you can carry a tent or a tarp or even just plastic sheets or mylar sheets. Anything to use to get out from under, okay? And speaking of that kind of thing, in number 10, you should check the weather before you step out the door, Check the weather often, where you're at, where you're going, and the route in between, and check it for more than one day. And your best bet would be to carry a weather radio. Now, I had one of those crank radios. Somehow or other, it got lost in the move. So, and it was just for weather and local news to let me know what was going on in the neighborhood. I mean, when maybe there's flash floods, maybe there's fires, who knows, You should keep track of that kind of good stuff. And of course, you can use the apps on your phone if you happen to have a signal, which you may not, depending upon where you go to camp. Okay. Number 11. Number 11. Tools. Now, I always thought that I was just a little nuts for constantly driving around with tools in my car. I mean, but when I stopped to think about it when camping, yeah, they were really necessary. I carry a saw and a hammer and screwdrivers and, Phillips and flatheads, all different sizes, all kinds of stuff. And of course, other things like wheel chocks and extra locks and all that kind of good stuff, So designate a spot for that too. And number 12. Have a plan B, and maybe a plan C, and possibly a plan D. Okay, plan ahead. Plan ahead before you start. Plan ahead while you're out there. Okay, and number 13. Stay safe. Your safety depends upon your decisions. Okay, so if you decide to do without something, make sure you've got a backup. Plan B, Plan C, Plan D. Okay? Come here. There you go. There you go. There you are. There you go, boy. There you go. The Rowley report. Rowley. Rowley has come alive. I have been feeding him home-cooked foods. I don't cook for me, but I cook for him. And he gets some good stuff, let me tell you. Yeah, he had the dinner I made him yesterday. Well, I make a lot of it, so he'll eat it for another week and a half. Had turkey and beef and parsley and sweet potatoes and carrots and spinach in it and brown rice. He is doing beautiful. His fur is soft and silky and just wonderful and shiny. I mean, he looks good, actually looks good. He's got more energy than I can handle these days. Yeah, you're a good boy. I think he's loving it. Okay, so thanks for watching, and thanks for your support. And see you next Friday, 5 p.m. Pacific time. Take care of you and yours, and blessed be. Okay? Okay. Yeah, that's the boy.